Welcome to the In Cobb We Trust podcast. And today we are taking a closer look at Marietta City Council. And I have the pleasure of interviewing the candidate, one of the candidates running for Ward 3, Nora Gaudet. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. You are running in Ward 3. Mm-hmm. There are 3 people running.
So far.
Right? We haven't gotten to qualifying yet. Let's get into it. Why Ward 3 Marietta City Council?
It's not something that I really had aspired to do. I kind of almost fell into it, and by just I was at a meeting with some other women who are like-minded, and we were unhappy with what's going on at the top level and talking about all of the problems that we were seeing, and not being a person to sit around and talk about the problems, but a person to start thinking about solutions once you understand the problem. We were talking about the fact that it was time for City Council to kind of be up for bids, and we were looking for seats and like-minded people, and looking around the room, nobody said, hey, pick me. So I said, hey, I'll do it. And that's kind of how I fell into it. So it's not like I've ever studied City Council or anything like that, or had really aspired to be in city leadership. Actually, I thought I was going to do more state government in Minnesota when I was there, but I ended up coming here to Georgia instead. So I've always been kind of governmental adjacent, and I love, the idea of political science and human psychology behind decision-making and persuasion and those sorts of things and messaging. And so I figured, hey, I'm qualified, right? I've got a brain. I can think critically. I can look at problems, and I can solve issues. And so here I am.
And your campaign has been around for what, a couple months now?
It's been a few months. I actually did my declaration of intent in March, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was a while ago.
It was pretty
5
early.
Months almost now, yeah.
As soon as I had heard, mm-hmm. and I didn't see anybody really stepping up. And I really didn't know if the incumbent was going to run again or not. I just thought, well, whatever. I can affect change on a local level. Sure, pick me.
And what have you learned thus far?
Oh my gosh, Perrin, that is a loaded question. Many, many things, my friend. The first thing that I did when I decided to run was get involved with the Citizens Government Academy, because I didn't want to go in blind. I didn't want to go in. It's kind of like when you're interviewing for a job. You want to know everything about the company and the way that it runs before you even sit down for an interview. And so I really wanted to know how all those moving parts worked. Mm-hmm. And Anthony, who you'll be interviewing a little bit, he too was in that government academy. And it was just really fun because we learned all about those moving parts of the government,
Is that through Cobb County or City of Marietta?
It's actually the City of Marietta. Okay. And they do it once a year, and it's free, but they only take 25 people. So the first 25 that sign up, I don't know if they vet people or not, but the first 25 people that sign up, they take them through this program, and it's like an 8-week program. Okay. So every Wednesday or Thursday night, whichever night it happened to fall on, for 8 weeks straight, you would go to a different part of the city department. So say the police or the fire hall, and you would meet with the people that work there and the people that kind of manage those pieces. And that was really fascinating for me. And the more I learned about that, the more excited I got. I thought I can work with this and these people and what they're trying to do. And so that's the first thing that I did. Other things that I've done is I've had a meeting with the Marietta Housing Authority to find out more about affordable housing and accessibility. And I've had informational meetings with people from across political lines, across the city, old Marietta, new Marietta, done a little bit of research about what those folks, how they saw the city and what they would want to see continue to change. And it helped me kind of formulate my ideology about more solidify why I want to run and what are the ways that I think that I can affect change in the city. So I've actually learned a lot. It's been a quick study.
And so let's take those 2 things that you put out there, why you want to run and, how to affect change.
Sure.
I'll let you take it.
Wonderful. I want to run literally so that I can affect change. I know that there were some issues in my own neighborhood where we needed some traffic calming measures. And so we asked the city to come and put in a speed table or 2. We have 2 on that street now, on Hunt Street specifically. where there was a lot of speeding. We have kids in the neighborhood. It is a very walkable, dog-friendly, cat-friendly neighborhood. And people were speeding on those streets, and we were worried about those that would be most in danger, right? So we asked for the city, and I got another taste of like kind of how the city works and how those traffic calming measures come together and how a community can come together and affect change. And I really liked that. So I think that why I'm running specifically, I was raised to do exactly what I'm doing right now. I was raised a military brat. So I was actually born in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. My dad was a Green Beret paratrooper, medevac special forces dude. So he was like a soldiers, and he was in it. And he did like 4 tours in Vietnam. And prior to my even going into school, I lived in Okinawa for a little while. So I saw public service as a way of life. One of the things that we did when I was in Okinawa, I was like 4 years old. And it was Christmas time, and I was on a bus with a bunch of adults, just me and a bunch of adults, because I was the only one in my family not in school. And we wrapped Christmas presents and brought them around to all of the schools on the island to give them Christmas from the American Legion. It was really, really cool. So I've been doing public service and volunteering my whole life. And this just makes sense because I'm retired, right? I'm retired now. I mean, as much as I know how to retire, I'm a very active person. But so that it brings me joy to actually see the changes that we can make. And that's what I want to see in the city. I want to make sure that we protect Kennesaw Mountain, right? I want to make sure that we protect our roadways, our citizens, that our schools are safe, right? For the kids to either walk to school or bike to school or however they get to school, once they get there, to know that they're safe to learn. I want to make sure that there's good communication between the police department, public safety, as well as planning and zoning, right, for the schools and the school board. Right now, I don't see a lot of communication between the city council and the school board. No shade to who is ever on either one of those boards. I'm just saying it's not happening. They're kind of 2 siloed entities that I feel should be at least communicating at the very least, right? Especially when you talk about millage rates and then, the budget has to pass later, the school board, when this is what it's going to be. You don't have any choice, right?
And in Ward 3, specifically in terms of what could be better, I know you mentioned the traffic calming measures. Is there anything else that's like a big need in Ward 3?
Yeah. Well, Ward 3 adjacent is North Marietta Parkway, and that is like traffic roulette, right?
It is. Like, I know. Much. I mean, I have to, if you're trying to go south, into Marietta from, either like 75 Canton Road or the hospital, trying to go south between the hours of 4 and 6, it is roulette.
It is. It is. I've, one of the things that it's very specific, but it did affect me very recently a number of times is when I'm coming off of Church Street and I'm trying to turn left on the Marietta Parkway, there are times when the traffic coming from the right that's already on Marietta Parkway is parked in the middle, right, of that 4-way. That's one of the things that I think we need to think about, right? Like you're holding up a flow of traffic.
I always wondered if a big roundabout could get, but then I wonder too, like, if you're looking at the traffic measures, I think the pain points are Church and North Marietta Parkway, right?
And
but
Cherokee,
and then North Marietta Parkway and Whitlock. Like those seem to be like people are trying to get from Whitlock, and then if you go, then once it becomes Powder Springs, South Marietta Parkway, right there. Yeah, it's like those 3 are the biggest pain points. That I myself have to.
There are a number of thoroughfares, and I know we're talking about, I know we're getting out of Ward 3, but if I'm on city council, I'm looking at the whole thing, right? So there are a lot of thoroughfares like Whitlock, Polk, Church, Cherokee, and I'm sure there are others that are just bumper to bumper, right? That create traffic hazards. And I think that's something that we need to look at as a city plan and say, where are those pain points and how do we fix those?
It's interesting we're even talking about this because the last time the mayor ran, I looked at his website and it said less traffic, and all I can think about, like, that's traffic thunder right there. Like when you're going down, like it's a parking lot all the way up to the hospital.
Yes,
on Church.
Yes, it is. That's correct. And I have a stepdaughter that lives on Church Street, and she has 2 young children. And so to try to
they're not playing in the front yard.
Well, they're not playing at Lewis Park either, right? Like, because you can't cross Church Street to get to Session Stand, right? Or the park or the hospital.
Yeah, there is no dedicated crosswalk. I think the closest one is at Cherry and Church right here. And then you'd have to walk south from here. And I don't even know if there's an actual crosswalk to get across. I've never seen anybody do it.
Well, maybe there's a reason. I'm just saying, maybe there's a reason. I don't know.
That was a little fun aside because traffic seems to be a pretty big concern. Housing is another big concern.
Housing is a huge concern. Anthony McCullough and I just met with the Marietta Housing Authority because we're like, I know that federal funding is being cut everywhere, and we also know that there's a housing crisis nationally, right? So we're like, okay, what do you do and how do you fit into that accessible housing issue? And it sounds like it's and you know, kudos to them. They're doing a great job with what they've got. They're not just Marietta Housing Authority. They're actually Cobb County. Oh. And we did not know that going in. So they have a much larger geographical area that they need to cover. So those funds have to be dispersed even more thinly across that geographical area.
I did not know that. Okay.
Right? Interesting. Correct. So we're trying to figure out, so if they're losing federal funding, they already have, you know, minimal funding as it is to do what they need to do. Because as you know, the homeless population is growing. The housing crisis is growing. So we have to find viable partners, whether it's Marietta Housing Authority or some nonprofit entities, like Glory House is starting to put, you know, tiny homes together. But there are only 15 of those units. That's only 15 families being served. So how do we juggle the traffic issue, the fact that, you know, the younger people, which is the median age in Marietta, 35.2, right? Median income is $59,000 a year. That's not that much. How do we make sure that we can house and feed and support these families? That's the big, big question.
Big question. If you were just going to, let's say, take the supply and demand issue of housing,
right?
Limited supply, high demand, price goes up. And we've had a city council for the last 16 years under this mayor's leadership that has been adamantly opposed to multifamily housing because of their experience on Franklin Gateway, as if every single apartment ever is going to turn into that, which if you drive around anywhere, that's not the case. Right. It's poor enforcement.
Thank you.
Really poor enforcement.
It is. It's about code enforcement. It's about holding renters, those landlords, accountable, right? Yeah. I have been in areas while I'm canvassing, which I'm doing a lot of, which is why I look like this today. I'm sorry about that. I have 5 new mosquito bites. But as I canvass, you know, I'm asking people in their homes, like when they live in duplexes and some are better than others. And I say, do you feel like you're being supported? What would you like to see different from your landlord, right? And so I think it's time that we start taking a look at those specific situations. Let's just get real, right? Each of us needs to look in our ward and say, what are the issues in terms of landlord and renter accountability? And how can we start putting a little bit of feet to the fire, a little bit of pressure on these landlords to do the right thing, right? If you're going to invest in this property, this is not a one-time investment. It's not a one-time investment. This is a long-term investment, and you need to maintain this property so that the quality of life for your residents is where it needs to be.
And if you drive around Marietta, I know a lot of people will say like we're out of space, but there's space to build.
Right. I'm just going to say this.
There's space to build
if we don't sprawl, right?
Right.
And where I've spent the last 37 years of my life up in northern Minnesota, the very first thing that struck me, and I thought, well, this is interesting, and I didn't get it, but I get it now, is that houses are built up, right? They're a little bit closer to each other, but they're built up. And then so you have a little bit of front yard and a lot of backyard and a garage and a driveway or whatever. But you can have more density if you're smart about the way that you build, right? So maybe, sorry, y'all, no shade, but less McMansion and better use of the land that we have, and maybe even refurbishing or repurposing some of the properties that already exist, right? Like old abandoned buildings. How can we repurpose that and maybe make that into better housing?
I mean, I'm all for it. I think there's a huge need because it just feels like we've been held back.
Well, you've got that comprehensive plan That was done in 2022? I don't feel as if I've seen any progress. It's a plan, but a plan needs to be executed. And to your point, that is not happening.
Yeah, and I knew the previous head of planning and zoning, Rusty Roth, I believe was his name, and he has since retired. He was a great guy, but I always got this sense that I think it was the third floor is where they are. The third floor had an idea of how Marietta should go into the future and the development, and it's based on the comprehensive plan. And I just got the sense that the city council under this mayor was just not in it. And let me just kind of change tack here a little bit. We're at a unique time nationally.
That is a way to look at it.
if I was going to use like the fewest words possible to describe like the end of democracy. But a lot of people feel helpless.
Yes.
A lot of people feel as though all these things are happening and we're powerless. But we're not powerless. And I think your candidacy is an example of that.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit more about what it means to you.
Well, I was just thinking about this on my way here today. And I was thinking, here I am running for office, right? In this crazy political milieu that we have going on here. And I'm losing rights left and right. Myself. Who knows in 4 years if I'll even have the right to vote? I mean, I already lost the right to my own body. So next is my right to vote. So getting into office bypasses that altogether, right? Like I just skip right over voting and I just start leading. And hopefully, Perrin, I will inspire other women. I want to lift them up. I'm not one of those break through the ceiling and then board it up so nobody else can come because, I had it hard and you should have it hard too, right? Like that way of thinking is not who I am. And so I'm hoping that I can lift others up into the same positions, right? Putting people on boards and commissions that are thoughtful and critical thinkers and will look at the whole issue and actually study the issue, study whatever it is that comes in front of planning and zoning, whatever developments come up to the table. I want smart people asking good questions so that we've looked at all of the issues from every perspective that we can. I want different perspectives. I want the city council, I want the commissions and the boards to be kind of a microcosm of what Marietta is, right?
And it's certainly not that way right now.
I didn't say it.
I mean,
That's correct.
We've made telling the truth an important part of this podcast. And if we weren't going to say that, with the exit of 3 council members, Annie Morris, Griff Chalvant, Johnny Walker,
Ward 3.
And it feels like we're on the precipice of a generational change in leadership. That's exciting for people, but it's also a little bit scary because we're trying to get to something they don't know.
Or understand or can picture.
And people don't like change.
Right.
How do you mitigate those, or not mitigate, but how do you handle those conversations?
Yeah. That conversation to me looks a little like, well, change is inevitable, right? We all know this. And I think that it's also a matter of informing people about who actually lives here. It is not the same demographic that it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So, the safety of that familiarity is kind of gone and you just didn't notice, right? And so I think that in my talking to people in my canvassing, they're just saying, I just want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to feel like somebody's there that actually cares about me. And that's exactly what I represent. Exactly. And so I think that having those conversations about change comes from a place of authenticity and foresight and vision, right? So if I can explain to you, Perrin, about how if you were to rezone this property in this particular area, these are the implications of that, right? How do you feel about that? That's how you get real change to happen, is you get buy-in from the people who are being affected by those changes.
And let me ask you to weigh in on this.
Okay.
Because you have 2 other opponents in your race, but the top of the ticket, as far as we know, as we are recording this is a race between two people. Mm-hmm. One is the current incumbent who has been there for 16 years, 4 terms, running for an unprecedented 5th term, with the context of having passed term limits, back in 2017 for 3 terms.
But they don't affect me.
Yeah, it's shocking how that plays out. And then you have Sam Foster, 24-year-old IT systems engineer, wicked smart, understands systems. Yep. Mm-hmm. What do you make of that race?
I make of it that it is a very clear choice. Do you want status quo or are you ready for changes? Number one, do you want, I'm going to answer this in a story. Okay. Okay. So I've been going to a lot of city council meetings for a number of months, and I witness a lot of, let's just pretend this is my cell phone, while people are presenting, members of the community are speaking out against certain things, like, I don't know, the data center, right? Okay, so that's happening. A lot of paper shuffling, no eye contact, so nobody's listening, is what I'm saying. So, and then you can just tell that things are happening behind the scenes before anybody even sits down in a chair, because all of that happens, it goes completely unnoticed, then it's time for a vote, 7-0. So that's how I feel about that race. Can you make those connections? How I feel about that race is some people are asleep and some people have the energy to run the race for the long term. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Some people, you can understand what they're saying, and others mumble.
Well,
so I don't feel
that's true.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not trying. I'm not.
We were just talking about that at the last city council meeting. I'm like,
I'm not
Anthony,
being
you know what
like
you just said. Like, I don't understand.
For people, if people get upset by that, I would tell them to stop being such snowflakes, because it's an accurate description of reality.
People age, and I respect that.
Yeah, it's normal.
God bless, right?
It's a privilege to age.
But part of aging is using your experience to know when it's time to walk away, right?
Well, yes. I mean,
and open the door. Open the door for
and this
newness.
criticism, and I try to call a ball, a strike on the podcast. And so, if you are one of those
people, trying to be so nice.
if you are one of those people that said Biden is too old to run, he shouldn't, which I agree with. Okay, then you can use the same logic for our current incumbent.
Right. Okay. Look, it's an ego. It's an ego thing, right? Like, what do you hope to accomplish in the next 4 years that you didn't have time to accomplish in the previous?
That's exactly right. Like you ran on all these things last time. What have you done? Right. Number one. Number two, why are we in such a situation where you have no bench? You have no bench. The people that should be running to replace you are old and getting almost demented. Like, you're getting there, but they haven't done the work. And I've been thinking about this, and I wonder if you have a perspective on it as to if you knew, right? Like, none of this is shocking. Right. None, like, your term was going to end. Yeah. You knew your term was going to end at some point. You're telling me nobody had the foresight to like put any planning ahead? Well,
exactly. I think that sometimes we get comfortable, right, in the familiar, and then we get lazy. And I think that we also lose the connection with the people that we're supposed to be serving. And I don't want to be that person. If I do 4 years and it's a good 4 years and I feel good about what I did, I can walk away. I am not here building a career. I'm not here to win a popularity contest, and I'm not here for the photo op. Okay.
And nobody cares that you were a basketball star in the whatever, like God knows what.
I was a cheerleader. Does that make me electable? What? Right? And you don't have to have this huge resume as I'm just going to say it because it exists all over the city, as a real estate agent, right? A developer or a lawyer or whatever, all these things. You don't have to have that resume resume to have an ability to think critically and analytically about issues that come before you, or to have the foresight to do some planning about how we can attack homelessness or housing inaccessibility, right? How do we speak to and work for that median income, that median age? These are young families. And for us as the older generation to sit back and say, well, I had to work really hard and I had to earn it, so you do too. Well, the reality is the system that was in place for us to be able to work hard and earn that no longer exists. So let's just get real for a minute.
I think that is such a poignant point because, you know, consider myself very fortunate to have the means to be able to navigate, you know, my 30s and 40s while I'm caring for young children and everything like that. But so many people don't have that same ability, and it's tough.
Especially now.
And everybody feels super squeezed. I'm like, food is not cheaper.
It's not, and it's not a luxury, right? It's a necessity.
Food is not cheaper. Housing is not cheaper.
You mean gas isn't $1.98 a gallon?
Education is not cheaper. Nothing is cheaper. And yet, your paycheck doesn't go as far because of inflation
it's
too.
Up, right? It's not keeping up.
It's I think that when I see that we're going to run for a fifth term and somehow things could be too affordable, and how you're going to look at things through your grandchildren's eyes, you know, to me that's just lip service.
Well, it is. It's just a new way of framing the same old, right? It's just a new way to frame it. I can't with that one. That one slays me. I'm not even sure how I'm supposed to interpret that.
And Ward 3 traditionally has not had representation other than just being a stamp for the mayor, a rubber stamp.
Yes, ma'am?
That's all it's been.
Correct. And we are looking to get that same kind of energy in that seat. And do not vote for me if that's what you're looking for. Do not vote for me if you're looking for a yes man, because I am not her, right? I am going to look literally at everything that comes in front of me. I have a wonderful group of people around me that are freaking smart, smarter than me. Thank God, right? I'm like, I don't get it. What does that mean? And I will ask them. And that's the thing. That's what makes, I think, me different from probably most other candidates is I know I don't have all the answers. I don't even pretend to, but I know that I know somebody who does, right? Like I will draw on the people around me, and they truly are smart people coming from a lot of different perspectives. Like, you know, again, old Marietta, Republican, right? Republican ways of looking at things. I need to know what that means, right? Because I don't think like that. Oops, did I just give myself away? Right? So I don't think like that. I don't think about just me. And no shade on my friends, right? But I want to have all of those perspectives, old Marietta, new Marietta, Republican, Democrat, progressive, right? People who don't vote. I want to know why. So I want to be able to have all of that in my head when I go to vote.
And what's the energy on the street?
The energy, okay, so I feel like maybe I'm not intimidating or something because people are they're literally opening their doors and inviting me in their homes right now.
Really?
I'm not kidding. My husband had to come find me. He was so nervous because I was in somebody's house. He's like, what are you doing? Yeah, I disappeared for a while. But, you know, these are young families. By and large, they're either young families or they're much older adults, you know, living in Marietta City housing. And a lot of these young families are living in very small apartments or duplexes, and, you know, they got 2 kids. And so one of their biggest concerns is the schools, right? And what can our kids do in the summertime, which I thought was freaking brilliant. Why can't the city and the school board come together and put on some programming for kids in the summer? Why is that?
This is not rocket science.
Right. And it shouldn't be unaffordable. Right? Your kid can go play soccer, but my kid can't because we can't afford those fees. Stop it, right? Everybody should wear the same uniform. Everybody should be able to go to the soccer field on the same day and play because they're just kids. We're the ones that are teaching them stratification, right? We're the ones that are teaching them differences in people. And I think that the city and the school board have a part in changing that. And some people aren't going to like that idea. I'm okay with that.
Well,
Right?
let me
But that's kind of the feeling. They're raising young kids.
let me pick up on something you mentioned, the older people.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know that this campaign, we're talking about generational change, and I want to make sure that they know that they're part of the solution as well. And they have problems uniquely to them. Like, there's so many seniors that I meet in the hospital when they're sick that are struggling.
Yes.
They're really struggling, and they're just one fall, stroke, heart attack, bad pneumonia, bad UTI, one fracture away from either rehab or nursing home. So there's a tremendous amount of anxiety there.
Right.
And a lot of it is financial anxiety. I was just wondering, like, are you hearing that from them when you go in their houses?
When I go in their houses. Oh my God. Yes, I'm the neighbor that everybody kidnaps. I am hearing that. I'm hearing not as explicit as that, but I hear it and I feel it and I see it, if that makes sense. They talk more about, they just say, I just want to be seen and heard. I just want to be seen and heard. So I feel like you have these stratifications, right, in our community where it's like young people trying to raise families, lots of energy, parks and rec, right? Get out, move around. And I'm all about that. I mean, I know I'm 60, but I swear I feel like I'm 20, right? I have the energy. I will match any 20-year-old's energy. Those who take class from me can attest to that. But I feel as though you've got this young, up-and-coming Marietta, and then you have Marietta kind of in the middle, and I know that that's a group, but I don't mean it that way. Marietta in the middle is kind of like, that 40 to 65-ish year old who are still feel like they can work and do things and make changes. And then you have the older adults who are in assisted living facilities and who are living in, city housing and those sorts of things. And all of these groups need to be attended to. I don't want to put one aside for another. I feel as if whatever that comprehensive plan is should encompass everyone who lives here. I want everyone, literally, I don't want people to just have a seat at the table. I want to hear their voices, right? And I want to give voice to that. And I truly, truly mean that.
And so many people have been ignored, right? Like,
oh my God, everybody's being ignored.
The city council.
Yeah,
I think that the only people who are not or seem to have a voice are the people on the end.
The developers.
The people who know people.
The connected, the wealthy and the well-connected.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
To coin Anthony's term.
And
got to give him credit.
With the few questions that we have remaining.
Yes, sir.
Some people might say you're from Minnesota.
Yeah, that would be true.
What do you know about Marietta? And what would you say to them?
I love that question. Yes. I was not originally from Minnesota, but I did spend 37 years there, and 22 of which were in higher education. And so I have a lifetime of experiences and experience. So pushing that aside, my husband and I chose Marietta. We were in Dunwoody, and our condo had flooded for the second time, and we were staying with my stepdaughter who lives on Church Street, and we fell in love with Marietta. We were able to walk to the square. I am a big arts and culture and outdoors, so I was hitting up the mountain, and then I was going to the Strand, and then I went to the alley stage, right? And I'm trying every single restaurant on the square, and I still do that. But it is because of that sense of intimacy and community and neighbor and family. It all just felt so right. I always tell my kids, I feel like I'm in a Hallmark movie. I really do. Because, I ride my little Vespa to the square, or I walk to the square with my little group of friends because I'm in a Hallmark movie. It's phenomenal. And so for those reasons, I want the quality of life for everybody in Marietta to feel like I feel when I'm here. That's what I say to that. I chose it. I didn't have to be here. I chose it.
And final question, and something that I ask all patients and families in the hospital when they're sick.
Yes.
What brings meaning in their life? What brings meaning in your life?
My connections with other people. I'm a community builder at heart. That's what I do. If I see people that I think should know each other, I make sure they're introduced because I feel like they can move forward together. So I think that my legacy will be that I was authentic in my connections with other people, right? And that I maybe made their life a little bit better in some way.
Nora Gaudet is hopefully going to be elected as Ward 3 City Council woman. Which one do you prefer?
Counselor? I don't care.
Oh, and no, early voting starts October.
Somewhere around there, 16, 17.
I thought it was October 15th, but I'll have to get my number right. But
I'm not sure either.
November 4th is your election.
That's the big day. Yep.
So make sure that you vote.
And let's just avoid that runoff.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.